Like all that stuff can fall away. It really can.
Yeah.
And the story that you've had for the past, I'm sure
60
50,
years.
60
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
just gets to not have any life anymore.
Yeah.
There's a freedom in that I'd love for you to explore.
hmm I'll take the gift now at my age in my 60s. And
It's never too late.
right, live
Yeah.
out this beautiful life and
Real clients, real challenges, and the ideas that make a difference. This is Mental Tension Coaching with Rich Life. So I've asked my client to come on today, and she is awesome. She has been my client for a little while. We've started working together. And the reason why I wanted her to come on to the podcast is I want to dive deeper in a specific subject that I think is really going to be impactful for her, but also impactful for other people if they listen in on their conversation. So you can be a fly on the wall for this. You get to kind of go for the ride here. And what we're going to be talking about that's going to be so impactful, I hope, it is truth. Because truth is a really important thing, and it can trip us up if we think things are true that aren't necessarily true. And it was in one of our sessions, Kristin, that I really noticed you might have a kind of a bad compass for truth. It might be miscalibrated. So I want to help you with that. And what helped me know that was that you said, after I asked you, do you feel that it's essentially true that you're not good enough? You said yes. And that made me suspect that your truth teller was not taking you to the right places. So I'd like to help you with that today. How does that sound?
yep, sounds great.
Cool.
Good. Yeah.
Well, and so like if you've believed that you're not good enough, if you've taken that as truth, how has that impacted your life?
Oh, boy. I think I've been fighting against it all of my life. Um, I think, like I told you, I heard that message as a kid. And then what I just after we talked about this, thinking back on it, I think that there were points where it was just reinforced. Like I struggled in school. What I believe now is that I just have attention deficit, or I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was, but I struggled in school and I really wanted to be good at academics. My girlfriends were, and oh my God, I remember we took what I think it was the ACT test to get into college, and I had a horrible score. And so I think just like I said, like things just reinforced my belief that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't good enough, whatever, and like I did go on to college and I did graduate, but like it was a fight. It was a struggle all the way. Um, uh, Interviewing for my first jobs out of college, like I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Like I was just so insecure. Um, so it it definitely affected, my career, like just my work life, because I wouldn't, I would just, seek jobs that were, do you think most anybody could get, you know? But I also, yeah. Um, yeah, all the way into my relationships in adulthood and, through to where I am now. And an older person that obviously still had that belief, because in one of our sessions, it came up so strong, and you asked me that question, like, do you believe, that I can't remember exactly what was it like.
Yeah, I think I asked you, is it essentially true that you are not good enough?
Yes, and I said yes, like
Yeah.
emphatically where I was then, because I'm looking for work now, which puts you in a certain place, of vulnerability, and I probably would have said that most any most any day really, but it was uh when we were talking about it and I said that, like, nothing could be more true, um but
Yeah.
since then you and I have talked a little bit, and yeah, I I I s- I see how that has definitely not served me and is, not true,
Mm.
really. Yeah.
Cool. And so you've started to kind of get an inkling that it might not be true. You've started to have this
Mhm.
idea that to kind of question it and go into it and really take a look, even if it feels really solid. Like it feels like this is it. There's no arguing with it. To really kind of take a peek. And it seems like you've done that and you've started to see some of the cracks.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
That's awesome.
I've not only started to see the cracks, I feel like I really see how, you just in our last session you said the truth is something about the truth should feel good,
I,
right?
I, I think I said the truth will never be painful.
The truth will never be painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which really resonated with me. But yeah, and to look back and see how much that story has affected my life from every angle, from relationships to even, sometimes if I feel insecure about my children that they haven't called or whatever, I just like, then I kind of go back to that, and so, uh, yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to kind of dive in a little bit and really take a look at what truth is and what it's not. And hopefully that will clarify things for you because I don't want to give you truth. I can't. I don't have that ability. But if I can help you find it for yourself, if I can help kind of reorient you so that you're not believing the lies as much, you don't take that as a truth,
Hmm.
it will change your life. It's going to transform your every interaction, really. Like you said, you've carried this story for so long, so let's take a look at it. And one of the things that I really heard too, because I suspect what happened, and we have events that happen in our lives. I had a very formative event that happened, and I came to a conclusion about myself. And I've shared that in other podcast episodes. Um, but I believed that I wasn't wanted. And it sounds like you came to this conclusion that you weren't good enough. And then when you come to a conclusion like that, you start to have a bias. you start to look at your life through that filter, and like you found, there's a lot of things that you can find that confirm it. And that kind of just drives it in and drives it home and kind of keeps it in place and holds it there. And you ignore all of the things that aren't that, that negate that conclusion that you've made about yourself. Mm-hmm. So it is a great thing to see. You're going to start to see your life with a lot more neutrality. So I guess if I were to give you an idea about what you were looking for when you're looking for truth, I would have to create a separation between like a conceptual truth and an essential truth, what I'm going to call an essential truth. A conceptual truth is a thought-based truth, like ego-based truth. It's an idea, it's a concept. And a lot of people find those ideas and take those as truth. But there's a problem with that. There's a very big problem with that. Because all thoughts are subjective by their nature. They can't be anything else. All thoughts are a conceptual idea, a representation. That's what they are. Thoughts are just a representation of something that might be in the world or in the world of ideas. So if we search for truth using that tool, using our minds, our thoughts, we just won't find what we're seeking to find. I think that that's played out in philosophy. That there's been a lot of philosophers that have had a lot of really good ideas, but they haven't really found anything that can be nailed down and say, this is truth. Because it just can't be, because it's made of their thinking. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no truth, though. And that's really important to see. Because there is an essential truth. And that is a truth that comes from a different place. You get to it through a very different avenue than conceptual truth. It's more of a sensing, of a feeling. It's more of like an experience. And you might have thoughts that pop up that you have a realization, an insight that is true. And it's a very different feeling. It might come to the mind, but it's also a very bodily feeling. And that kind of truth can't hurt. Now, it might be very uncomfortable, and it might be disorienting, especially if you've taken all of these other lies as truths for so long. It might feel like this can't be. But it won't hurt. Conceptual truths can hurt. And the pain of it is showing you that it's not true. That's one of your first guidance systems, is your feelings, your level of emotions. And when you get into a lower and lower feeling, when it hurts more and more and more, you know that you're going down the wrong road, looking for something that isn't true. It isn't essentially true. So I'll pause. I'd love to hear what you're hearing so far and what it's bringing up for you.
I guess the looking at the feeling of it, I think, is something I've never acknowledged around or thought of around when it comes to this topic. This topic that's come up 4 million times in my life,
Yeah.
in some way. But and I, all in the past, it's been my mind that's like you said, like I reinforcing, it'll come up with something that happened that will reinforce that feeling of not good enough. Um, I remember seeing a therapist 15 years ago. I don't know. I was at a crossroads with a career again. And I remember, I think the therapist said something about, well, you have a degree in economics from Colorado University. Like they're not just giving those away. They're not just handing them out. And I sincerely was like, you don't know. They gave me mine. Like that is not true because it happened to me. Like, and in my mind, I was like, well, she doesn't know because clearly they just, maybe they don't do it for everyone, but they did do it for me. Like, so it's been that like my mind has been so, or my thoughts have been, because like I can prove this to you, that I'm not worthy because, so I think I think that's, just that my thoughts have been reinforcing that feeling and proving,
Yeah.
and I honestly think that has became like a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, and not until recently, I had the opportunity to take that 10-month course through Cornell, and I I was like, I'm gonna do this, I don't, and I did it, and it was a stretch for me. It was not easy, but I did it. And so that was like things have just slowly been shifting,
Mm.
and I do think part of it is this work that we're doing. But anyway, but I think that also like what you said, that feeling, being aware of that feeling that you have, just that it yeah, that if that the truth should not feel bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's a mistake that we can make, I think, and it's a very innocent mistake, and I made it. And I know there's a lot of people who've made it. If you're listening, you probably made it. And that is that the feeling is a validation of that idea, that belief. That when we feel bad, it means that it's true. But what I'm trying to say is that the opposite. We want to flip that completely because if it feels bad, it's actually showing you how much of a lie it is.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing too is that, like, yes, you could probably spend an hour or more, probably the rest of our sessions, uh, proving to me that you're not good enough.
Mhm.
But the thing is that all of those arguments would be conceptual. They would be thought created and ideas and correlations that you've made. And that's just not where you're going to find truth. Like you can argue until you're hoarse, and you might make some really good points, but I'm not going to buy it because I know that on an essential level, not being good enough doesn't even play a part in who we are. It's an idea that we might have grabbed onto, but it was added later on in our lives. At one point in the life, we just came to this conclusion. We said, well, this makes sense. And the thing about it is that the mind would rather things make sense than be happy.
Mhm.
It would rather things make sense and have a very painful conclusion drawn, but that conclusion makes a lot of sense, than being in the unknown. And that's just an innocent misuse of your mind when you were younger. You didn't mean to do that. We've all done it. But now it's really kind of cool because we can kind of unmake it. We can kind of slow down, feel into it, feel just the feeling without the story of it. And then really see, is this true? And it seems like you're starting to do that.
Yep. Yep. On a genuine level, like,
Mm,
yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah, 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 it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, yeah.
Like all that stuff can fall away. It really can.
Yeah,
And the story that you've had for the past, I'm sure
60
50,
years.
60
Yeah,
years
yeah,
just gets to not have any life anymore.
yeah.
There's a freedom in that I'd love for you to explore.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know we talked briefly. I think you mentioned it, like just because you have a 2-year-old daughter, and how like when you're that young, or like, and I don't have a good memory, but I do have a sense of that a time period when I was really young where I didn't have that belief.
Yeah.
But it was young, and yeah, yeah, but I'll take the gift now at my age, in my 60s. And
Never too late. Really,
right, live
yeah.
out this beautiful life, and
Yeah.
and with a different uh much different approach or outlook. And like you said, we talked about, like, it will probably come back, like
Yeah.
it
It
will come
comes and
back.
goes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
comes and goes. Um, but just to notice that feeling and know that it was a story. Um, yeah,
I
yeah,
also love that you brought up that period in your life where it was before you came to that idea. You put the two and two together, like, I'm not good enough because of this. And what if that was more of the truth of who you were?
yeah,
When you were with that, you were more in touch with that. And there is still a part of you that is in that pure truth. And that's a part that you can discover.
Mm-hmm.
You feel into it, you sense into it. It's not going to come from thinking and putting a puzzle piece together, all the puzzle pieces together, because the puzzle pieces are just constantly changing. I mean, that's the thing about our minds. It's always like you noticed, it's constantly moving and changing.
Mm-hmm.
So doing all this work, it's like you might make some progress on the puzzle, but then you come back to it 5 minutes later and all the pieces are warped. It's like thrown around, it's but there's something that's underneath. There's a ground underneath that, like the table underneath that. All of these little conceptual pieces are on the top of it, and they can just move around and float around, and that's fine. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to put them together or mess with them even. You just look underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you will find a deeper level of who you essentially are. Truth with a capital T,
Mm-hmm.
not a little case,
Mm-hmm.
lowercase t.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's huge. Yeah. Yep. I'm uh yeah, very grateful for this understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you've got a little bit more tools, I guess. I wouldn't even say tools, but you've got maybe a different compass that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always kind of refining that. There's some more and more subtlety to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's just something that you can use for the rest of your life to guide you towards that, just living that in the moment. And that's really what truth is, I feel like, is just having that presence in life. And there might be things that come from that. There might be things that you can see, like the truth is with a capital T is typically neutral, and it's typically universal. I might even not even say typically. I'd say it's universal. It applies to everyone, not just you. And if you have your conceptual truth of I'm not good enough, that only applies to you, it seems like. You don't apply that to other people. So that's another way that you can tell
Mm-hmm.
when you are the exception. You've gone into a conceptual personal truth
Mm-hmm.
that isn't going to take you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's different. That I mean, like I said, I've been dealt been dealing with this for all of my life, and like I said, like as someone like the therapist can say, "Oh, you graduated from college." Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's still like, and that's generally how I think if I have talked to anybody about it, um, which probably is rare, it's not something that I've talked to a lot of people about, but um, just having them say, "Oh, no, you're good. You're," it's like it's not, it was, it maybe like, that's okay. That's nice. Thank you. Nice to hear. But like that didn't shift my story. It didn't, yeah, yeah, um, or this truth. has shifted my story.
Mm.
And it's been just recently, you know.
Mm.
And what we talked about this, I don't even know. Like, was it a month ago?
Yeah, yeah.
A month ago, you know, and so much is like, um, yeah, the, just the direction of my life has in this past month, 5 weeks or whatever, I haven't fallen back into that. I've noticed it, you know, and I think I told you that the couple, you know, like those thoughts come up or whatever, and I'm like, oh, you know, and knowing that they will still come up, you know, and that's okay because yeah, now I just yeah, I have this understanding. So
Mm.
anyway, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today,
Yeah.
Kristin. It's really a
Yeah.
pleasure, and I
Yeah.
treasure our conversation. So,
Me too. Yeah.
mm.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Real clients, real challenges, and the ideas that make a difference. This is Mental Tension Coaching with Rich Life.